So reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh yeah, it's gonna have to be way bigger, huh? Is that good? Wow. What's the meter? What happens here? Is this prose? Is it prose or is it no? We're just figuring it out online. We're figuring out this. I couldn't figure it out. I don't know. I'm not excellent at that.
That's it.
Samsmar Smritkesham Prabhapan Brahmapatyat Tavan Mamardu Parasanyam Adbhutam Yadu Pravira Nalinam Yata Gaji. Do it again, one more time. Chailena Badvatam Asadukarinam Sasmar Shukesham Pravapan Prayupayat Tavan Mamadu Parasanyam Adbhutam Yadu Praviran Nilanim Yatakatam. Chailena, with a strip of cloth, Badva, tying up, Tam, him, Asudu Karinam, the evildoer, Sa Smrishu Kesham, leaving some of his mustache and hair remaining. Pravapan, by shaving him. Varyupayat, made him disfigured. Tavat, by then. Mamardu, they had crushed. Para, opposing. Sanyam, the army. Adbhutam, extraordinary. Yadu Pravira, the heroes of the Yadu dynasty. Nalinim, a lotus flower. Yata, as. Gaja, the elephants. Translation: Lord Krishna tied up the evildoer with a strip of cloth. He then proceeded to disfigure Rukmi by comically shaving him, leaving parts of his mustache and hair. By that time, the Yadu heroes had crushed the extraordinary army of their opponents, just as elephants crush a lotus flower. So we're reading text 35 through 40. Purport: Lord Krishna used his sharp sword to give the wicked Rukmi a peculiar haircut. Text 36. As the Yadus approached Lord Krishna, they saw Rukmi in this sorry condition, practically dying of shame. When the all-powerful Lord Balaram saw Rukmi, he compassionately released him and spoke the following to Lord Krishna. Lord Balaram said, "My dear Krishna, you've acted improperly. This deed will bring shame on us. For to disfigure a close relative by shaving off his mustache and hair is as good as killing him." Purport: Omniscient Balaram knew that Rukmi was the guilty party, but to encourage lamenting Rukmini, he decided to gently reproach Sri Krishna. "Saintly lady," turning to Rukmini, Lord Balaram says, "Saintly lady, please do not be displeased with us. Out of anxiety for your brother's disfigurement, no one but oneself is responsible for one's joy and grief, for a man experiences the results of his own deeds." Again, addressing Krishna, Balaram said, "A relative should not be killed, even if his wrongdoing warrants capital punishment. Rather, he should be thrown out of the family. Since he's already been killed by his own sin, why kill him again?" Purport: to further encourage Lady Rukmini, Balaram again emphasizes that Krishna should not humiliate Rukmi. Turning back to Rukmini, Balaram continues, "The code of sacred duty for warriors established by Lord Brahma enjoins that one may have to kill even his own brother. That is indeed a most dreadful law." Purport: Lord Balaram, in the interest of fairness, is giving a complete analysis of the situation. Although one should not kill a relative, there are extenuating circumstances according to military codes. In the American Civil War, which took place in the 1860s, Many families were divided between the army of the north and that of the south, and thus fratricidal killing unfortunately became a common affair. Such killing is certainly Gor Atma, most dreadful, yet such is the nature of the material world, where duty, honor, and so-called justice often create conflict. Only on the spiritual platform, in pure Krishna consciousness, can we transcend the unacceptable pain of material existence. Rukmi was maddened by pride and envy, and thus could not understand anything about Krishna or Krishna consciousness. Omagani Timidandasya Dinanjanan Chalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Panchakalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutare Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastita Deshatayane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So, reading these pastimes from the 10th canto, there's some mediation happening. Lord Balaram is going between the two parties, Krishna, or three parties, Krishna, Rukmi, and Rukmini. And he's expertly trying to pacify the situation at this point. And he's turning to Lady Rukmini, and he's saying, listen, everybody should understand that this, you're going to get the reactions of your karma, and let's not lament about this. And then he runs right over to Krishna, and I can imagine with brothers and the omniscient Balaram, it's like, you shouldn't be doing this. What are you doing? And then maybe not a wink, but a knowing is happening between the two, and they're having that exchange. And there's a lot happening in just that one little exchange there, because as we saw before, there's a lot of justification that was happening in this pastime, where Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, decides, I have to answer this call. She called, the Lady Rukmini has called, and I will take her, and takes her, and those that were involved, Shishupal and others, are embarrassed. They can't defeat Krishna. What is going on? And then they justify. And the last part is so funny. Jarasandha saying, hey, 17 times, but I did beat him. And they kind of pat each other on the back, and they say, let's leave. We don't have to get all fired up about it. But there's so much in the heart. And Rukmi he just can't take it at this point. He just can't take it. And he comes so intense at Krishna with so many different weapons and clubs and bows, and Krishna breaks them all. But he keeps attacking the Lord. He keeps coming at him just relentlessly because of what's in the heart, and the envy, and all of those, feeling just so, one of those things, he doesn't want to have this, they say, Rag and Dvesh, right? Adi Prushpuru, he likes this, the verse from the Gita where it's this attachment and aversion. And he's having this, I know this wonderful devotee, Shambhalabha, who's a Ayurvedic doctor at the Eco Village. He said one time that most of the distress that he sees is just due to mental distress. And he was pointing out the verse, the Rag and Dvesh, the attachment and aversion. And he said the attachment means that you're looking at something that you don't have, and you're just wanting it so feverishly, And then the aversion, which is what is happening to Rukmi here, is something's happening, something's actually happening that you don't want. And it just keeps happening. Wait, I said no, I don't want that. And it just keeps coming. So you're averse to the situation that's appearing. And so what's appearing is your sister was stolen in front of your boys. And it happened. There's no acceptance of it. It happened. And so I will go against what is being given to me. And, literally the Supreme Lord, I will go against the Supreme Lord who's taking this away from me. And I will fight with everything that I have. And he has the same outcome that we all have when we do that. He ends up looking like a fool. He gets a haircut. He gets humiliated. And when we fight against what is our lot in life, as they say, then we get humiliated. And so Rukmi is humiliated here. And he, and it's interesting because it says at the end of this chapter that, because he piled it on, Rukmi piled it on even more because he wanted to be something that he wasn't, the Supreme Lord. He wanted to really be that. And so he said, and so then he very feverishly pounds his fist on and says, I will not come back. That fighting spirit, I will not come back until he's finished and I bring her back, and I will not do this. And he makes this vow. And sometimes when we're in distress, we do silly stuff like that, where we no, this will never happen. And we fight against, again, what is, and we add, is it insult to injury? We add more pain. We heap on the situation instead of folding the hands and humbling ourselves. We say, whoa, but don't you see my power? In my work, I work with people who have, that looks like power, or at least powerful positions in their little worlds that they live in. And I always, as Arjun Prabhu says, get a chill when in their little planets, their little companies, their little worlds, they get so extremely fervent. I was with somebody this week and they said, I'm the best at what I do, or whatever it is in a meeting. And you can't do it. You got to keep a straight face, but I don't know what's coming down the pipe for that person, the best, and he's meaning the best in this atmosphere that he's in. Literally believed it deeply. I just think, what's coming down the pipe to prove that that's not true? Where's the humility? And in that atmosphere, it looks very powerful. It looks, oof, this person really knows. They're full of strength. They must be very powerful. But we're so tiny. We're so insignificant. And here's Rukmi, just powerful person in his own right, very powerful. Now I will, in front of the people, in front of his army, I will vow, don't you worry about it. It's so powerful. Look at what I am. And then he gets what he's meant to get. He gets a haircut. He gets a real funny haircut. He gets humiliated, and then he goes back home, and it says that his anger still isn't abated, which is interesting to me. I have to review this again because it says that, and I think, when you get humiliated, you get to go and live in the village, another village, kind of outside, and he's sitting there, stewing on it? Festering. Yeah, festering. Why did this happen? This son of a gun, and it's there. So, yeah, there's a lot happening in this pastime. The few things that stuck out were the immediate. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. The immediate thing that stuck out right away was taking a peek at this. This chapter is, it's such a refined culture that's happening. around Krishna is the culture is always, they say you have to catch it, right? It's caught, not taught. So you got to catch it. This idea that we're family. I mean, there's tongue in cheek. Hey, he's, don't mess with a family member. They just got married. They didn't even get married. He stole her. And Balaram comes in and says, that's our brother. And so it's a different culture. We were joking yesterday with the mentorship servant leadership team. We had a nice dinner at Divya's, and we were joking about Karuna Guranga and Shilpa's house. It's down the street. There's always there's always 10 people in the house. It's just, that's the culture. Everybody's coming, going, people come, people stay, this is my brother. Is that your real brother? Yeah, it's my brother. Wait, that's not your brother, that's your brother, right? Like, wait a minute, and that's just how it is in that culture of inclusive and that desire to immediately expand oneself and be inclusive of others. With the Western mindset, it's very difficult, actually. It's like, I need my little home, my little family, my little thing that I can be around. But this culture is so beautiful. It's like, you stole, and now that's your brother. Can you see him as your brother? Don't act like that against a relative. Come on, he's family. We're family. We're family. And this expansion that's there. And Prabhupada gave the example of that through his sons and daughters, are still so loyal and close. It's, hey, Prabhupada, do you have any kids? Are you not my son and daughter? Are you not my son and daughter? Are you not, like, this is the family. This is the family. And so he immediately showed what that actually looks like, gave us an example of that. And that's part of the culture that was Balaram is showing here in a certain way. Another interesting thing that I was thinking is also the subtleties of how the correction is happening. Prabhupada usually gives that example of, or maybe it's just the an old example of, if the mother-in-law, how does it work? It's like the mother-in-law wants to correct the daughter, or the mother wants to correct the daughter-in-law, she instructs the daughter. So she gets a little fiery at the daughter, and then the daughter-in-law sees, oh, I guess this is the standard here, Oh, you're in the kitchen. Oh, wow. Because she doesn't do it directly. So you can see there's that subtlety of knowing how, he's pacifying Rukmini and he's correcting Krishna, but he's doing it in a very nice and refined way where he's not going direct. When I was in 8th grade, I was on a basketball team, and this was a common practice in sports at some point. I don't know. Somebody popularized it that was what, 30 years ago or something. It became popular for a few years where they would get the best player. The coach would get the best player. I remember my Coach Sorensen, and he pulled me aside. I just happened to be good at that time. And he pulled me aside and he goes, I'm going to yell at you a lot in practice. Okay. And he said, because we're going to up the standard here. And so, whenever I would miss a layup, come on, you can't miss a layup, or whatever it was. And and that was supposed to help, but it didn't really work out that way. But the premise was there, right? That if somebody can take it, then let me share that. And so then that way others who are kind of more delicate or are observing can see what is that center. And I think of Bhakti Swami in that regard, where the famous story of him getting a hug and the tears are there from Srila Prabhupada, and the affections there. And, he said, that's very meaningful, but actually what's more meaningful to me is the chastisement that I received from Srila Prabhupada, because that means there's closeness. That means that there's intimacy. It was very dear to him. So Balaram is doing that in this situation where he's chastising seemingly Lord Krishna, and he's pacifying Rukmini. He spends the rest of the chapter pacifying her, because it's probably pretty I mean, it's terrifying to see a family fight. What do they say? The cops, they just don't let, the one thing they don't like to go to is domestic violence because they don't know what's going to happen there. And it's terrifying to see your person that you love, fighting with your brother. And so he's pacifying. And the final thing that jumped out to me in this is that there's so much sweetness when we're reading these pastimes of Krishna, just to bring him into our consciousness. I think sometimes as devotees, it can be very attractive to kind of beat up the material atmosphere. Maya, illusion, the modes are so heavy, this is that, and it can be very attractive. But as Prabhupada said, we have to cultivate that ignorance. We also have to cultivate knowledge, and there's nothing sweeter than these pastimes, to just hear and just think, wow, what a chivalrous person Krishna is, and what a fantastic way to. When I think about all of the fighting that he just did in this one little section here, what that would look like, crushing bow after bow after bow, fighting so diligently, expertly, and your beloved is near you, and it's such a, what a scene to behold. And how that, just the thought of that, because it's an eternal reality, can lift the consciousness. So just that's nectar of Krishna Katha can just bring us right out of the modes immediately and bring us into a genuine place of enlivenment, that our Lord is so not only sweet and charming and funny and cute and lifting hills, but he's just so powerful and chivalrous, and has the ability to protect, to genuinely protect, and to, of course, in this case, eradicate that envy and that seething muck that can be in our hearts as well as Rukmi's hearts. So those are some thoughts. Obviously, I always like to open it up for a bunch of Hari Katha. And so if you guys want to jump in, share a little bit, I'm happy to hear. Hari Prabhu, you got any?
Okay. I'm gonna move this a little bit. We're praying to Srila Prabhupada what he would like to say. Our experience in Krishna consciousness is watching the dynamic of temple authority, dealing with all kinds of people to keep the mission on track. And Kripamaya was saying, in the Vanapras stage, after the children have grown up and you've already been through the stage of keeping them from killing each other, you can focus more on devotional service. But the chastisement of a parent or a guru for his disciples is based on love, right? That there's correction there, but there's not hatred, there's not any kind of bad intention. It's for the benefit of the person, right? And we've seen so many superlative examples of guru. I was personally in Srila Prabhupada's presence as his bodyguard in 1974, and I watched, the classic people coming in one at a time. They had somebody at the door, so he'd only, and some people he chastised very severely, but with affection. And that blend of correction, but lovingly applied, is so beautiful. and it requires Krishna's grace and wisdom, but it's very wonderful to see. I was thinking of one incident. A devotee came into Srila Prabhupada's room, and he was weeping, and he was telling Prabhupada how overwhelmed he was by the responsibilities of his service. And he said to Prabhupada, "What do you want? What do you want from me?" Prabhupada said, "I just want you to be happy." It's so amazing. I also had another incident one time right here in this room, because this was a yoga room years ago. And one devotee who was angry at Radhanath Swami, and he was screaming at me practically with the intent of physical violence. And I was praying to Krishna, looking at this person, and then Krishna gave me something to say. I said, "Prabhu, I love you." And right in the middle of this gigantic screaming tirade, he just, "Oh yeah, I love you too," you know. So this blend of like chastisement for the benefit of another is anybody, but you're a parent, you're serving as a parent. You sometimes have to chastise children, right? I worked had this working, taking care of an orphanage when I was an undergraduate. I had 15 boys. I mean, and literally sometimes keeping them from killing each other, We were it was in the South Bronx, and people from very sordid backgrounds. And but the affection, how they responded to the chastisement, somehow or other there was a warmth and an appreciation that somebody's here who cares about me, and I'm being dragged away by my uncontrolled mind and senses, and they're helping me not to do something bad, or not to, because they care about me. And then after physically spanking, the embrace and the powerful bond that comes from that, from having somebody who cares enough about you to correct you, it's very profound. Anyway, Krishna is so wonderful that he gives us these experiences, that Krishna consciousness is not just in a book, as an application, and ultimately we're learning to love because we're loving beings, and not just correcting somebody because they're an inconvenience to you, but for their benefit. Anyway, that was a little bit of a rambling share, but that's what Prabhupada gave me to share today. Of course, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Adipusha Prabhu. Yeah, do not chastise unless you love and care. Yeah. Jeffrey Eckler Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, good morning. Thank you for this class. I was thinking, and then Adi Purusha spoke, and it really started to gel for me that what you were talking about with Krishna is this dear little boy, but he's also powerful, and he's also actually protecting us. And what Adi said about the chastisement and the relationship between devotees, and I was thinking, it's not a philosophical protection. It's not abstract. That we actually experience this protection through the other devotees and their chastisement, their care, their redirection, consultation, that we physically experience Krishna's love and protection through our association with his believers. That's such a wonderful thing. And I guess the only other thing I had to say was one of the top 10 hugs I've ever received was when I met you at a fundraiser last, I guess, a year ago this fall. And I appreciate you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Top 10. All right.
Did Giridhari chastise you, Jeffrey Eckler? Was he nice to you?
He was very nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any thoughts, Shiny Type Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Just maybe following on from what Adi Purush said, yeah, one senior devotee said that if you chastise someone from the spiritual platform, then they go away feeling uplifted and inspired. If you chastise them from the material platform, then they go away feeling deflated and uninspired, and so do you, even though you try to, I don't know, kind of come across over top of them. But I had a question. Can I ask a question? I don't know if you know, but I just wondered if you had any insights, because it happens a few times in the Bhagavatam, but this principle of cutting the hair as being as good as death. And I was wondering if you had any insights into that. Of course, in that.
Culturally, like what you remember a few other examples?
Well, there's God, I just forgot the name. Who launched the Brahmastra without
Ashwatthama.
Ashwatthama, thank you. Ashwatthama, Rukmi, and I think there's at least one other. I can't remember, but a few times that you hear that, or they remove the jewel, or they, and Prabhupada states that they just kind of cut the hair. Huh?
Suparnika?
Yeah.
Oh,
Then
the
they cut
nose.
the nose off.
Yeah.
That's a
Cut the
little
nose off. That's a little intense. Yeah, what is that about? Bhima? Bhima's got his hand up. I'll come back to that. I don't know if Bhima's going to answer this or not. Let's see. He's figuring it out. He's out there with the horses. I can tell.
Haribol.
Haribo.
Haribol. Wonderful, wonderful to see you again, Prabhu. Everything's in good hands when I know that you're there. I just wanted to say one of the worst things that ever happened in my life was my first shaving up. I had, and I'll make this very quick. I think we're probably going to conch shell.
No, we got plenty of time. I want to hear this story. I want to hear it.
Okay, well, very quickly, I had made some comment about when I was a bhakta. I was on the boxing team, had long curly hair. I was at the peak of whatever idiocy that one has as a single young male in college. And of course, I met Radhanath Swami, and delusions one by one were peeled away like the skin of an apple. And one of those delusions was I had made fun of the devotees because the ones that were visiting were very skinny. They were on the road. They were the typical brahmacharis of the time. And I said in front of a whole evening Sunday food class, when Maharaj was in the kitchen cooking all by himself, because I didn't know anything better. I wasn't a bhakta at the time. I was just, someone who hung out with Maharaj. I so didn't want to be a devotee, so to speak, but I loved him. And long story short, I said, yeah, but the philosophy's great and everything, but the devotees are weak. And when Maharaj overheard that, he came out and he challenged me in front of everyone there to a physical competition. And I said, well, what happens if I win? He goes, I will never, ever in your lifetime ask you to shave up. And then I said, well, what if you win? And now at that time I was on the boxing team. I was in great shape, and Maharaj was who Maharaj is right now. And I said, and what happens if I win? What happens if you win? He goes, you have to shave up. You have to give your word right now. You will shave up. And that was in front of everybody. And everybody was like, there were like 15 people there at the Sunday feast, and they all went, oh. So anyways, long story short, when he did defeat me, and 3 months later, he had me come and kneel down, and he said, "Are you a man of your word?" And I said, "Yes, I'm a man of my word." The last thing I wanted to do was to see myself without the hair to cover this face. And he put the he turned on the buzzer and put it at the top of my head. And he goes, "But you may be a man of your word, but we are compassionate. We are a compassionate family." And he goes, "I want this to be your decision of your own freedom of choice." And when he said that, my heart just welled up, and I was like going to say, "Well, I don't want to." And I said, "Well, and then he goes over the top of my head before I finished the sentence, and gave me a reverse mohawk. So I had this, and then I said, "I was saying that," and there were devotees present, and I said, I was going to tell you I didn't want it done." And so Maharaj reached down, believe it or not, picked up the hair that he had shaved off and started patting it back on my head. And he says, "I can't put it back. I can't put it back. You might as well finish up your haircut." So that was, and then of course it was the first time in my life seeing myself bald, and it truly was a part of me, at least for that moment in front of the mirror, had died. Oh my God, I'm here. I'm looking like this. So that's my story about the loss of that delusional dignity when one is depending on one's hair to present as a presentation to the world. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Susan has her hand up.
Like a complete answer, right? That was amazing.
In 1972, my brother came home drunk. He had hair down to the middle of his back. And he came home drunk, and I remember my father saying, "Go to bed, I'll deal with this with you in the morning." And of course, his hair was his passion. So he took him to the barber shop at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning the next day and had his hair all cut off. And embarrassment wasn't the word for that in the 1972 era to have short hair. And that was his decision to take my brother back into reality. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
That was done out of love and care.
Yeah.
Yeah, do not build your castles out of hair.
Okay, let me unmute myself here now. Okay.
Okay, any contributions from the classroom? What's Bhava Bhakti? What does she have to say? We saw her in audience. Bhava Bhakti, when you chastise Janitai, does he go away uplifted?
Always. I was going to say a point on the chastisement because my sister-in-law came from India. I was brought up in England. I didn't understand that thing about parents, mothers chastising you, chastising the daughter to chastise the daughter-in-law. And so she did start to do that. Sorry, my legs got to sleep. She did start to do that in the kitchen, my mum. And I was like, she said, "You put too much sauce here or you put too much spice." And I was saying, I didn't do anything. I'm not cooking. But it was for my sister-in-law. And it was very interesting because they got it. There was a subtleness going on. I'm in the middle, like, what is going on here? But it was done in a way, if she'd said it directly, my sister-in-law, being you, would have been offended, and the mother-in-law or daughter-in-law, Rasa. But she could take it like that through me. It was interesting. So I was like, what is going on? And I only read it, if I'm honest, when I started to read Prabhupada's books. And I was like, oh, my mom used to do that. She didn't even explain it.
It's so deeply ingrained in the culture.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. It's such a subtle, refined culture. We think we've got to be the ones chastising, and they should take it directly. You take it directly. You need to hear this. No, more subtle, more refined.
Yeah, when we are being chastised, let's not take it personally. It may be meant for someone else. Don't be so self.
That interpretation, but yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Jai, thank you so much for class. I'm downstairs. I'll be upstairs in a minute, actually. But there's so many things about this class and this pastime. But one of the things I was thinking about in the mood of chastisement, I was thinking about this just yesterday, relating it to, what does Krishna do in Bhagavad Gita? First thing he does is he calls Arjuna a fool. And I've been meditating on that a lot. I have to give, not a chastisement, but a feedback to someone about something they did today. So I feel like Krishna was sending me this message. But I've been really thinking about this in terms of my mother. I always say that my mom and my dad they chastised us when we needed to be chastised. And it's only now looking back that I understand what a loving act that they did. And I'm so grateful for it. And that keeps me in that mindset when I have to, see something, to give someone feedback. And ironically, about 2 years ago, my mother lost every hair in her head. She'd always had thin hair, but it just fell off. And mom just was like, okay, it's just my hair and I'm just going to rock it. And so whenever I hear about this hair things, especially about a woman, it's so unusual. So I guess I'm just logging into full appreciation of my mother, my Adi Guru, in so many ways about this thing about chastisement. And then, she's the hair is, it's literally, the hair is dead. The hair is dead stuff that grows out of your skull. And it's so funny how we get so attached to it. So a little bit of rambling share, but I was just so moved by this passage today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Jamunda.
The hair is a source of power. You can store your power in your hair. I just wanted to get this clear here. It's not dead stuff. It's a source of power. As you can see, I have this ammunition storage.
It looks good on you, Bhima.
But your head. Okay. Okay, dear devotees, any final contributions? Who wants to be the finisher? Krishna Daya Prabhu.
And just a small point. Thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful class. In addition to Bhima Prabhu's point, in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life story also, there is one imitator person who says he's God and then he tries to harm Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So that person is captured later and his hair was shaved. His head was shaved. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur told all the powers lie in his hair and beard. So please shave them off. So that was one incident. And the other incident is in South Indian temples mostly, not only in Tirupati, it's very common. So devotees, when they go, most of them, they try to offer their hair. That is a sign of humility in front of Lord. So in one sense, Rukmi was humbled by Lord Krishna by shaving his head.
Yeah, thank you. Adi?
Well, we really got the topic of hair in the Bhagavatam covered extensively today.
Yeah. Jani Tai's sincere question revealed much about the hair.
Yeah.
So after he said, Lord Chaitanya has come to save you. But the way he said it, everyone thought he said, Lord Chaitanya has come to shave you.
Yeah.
There's a story we heard in Japan. There was this monk building a huge Buddhist temple, a beautiful temple. And he said, this is not just a building. This is an offering of love to glorify the Lord. And it requires our own giving and humility. And people gave money, but he said, I would like all the women who really feel moved to glorify the Lord, all the women within 10 miles should shave their hair and give the hair, and we'll make a rope to lift up the big pillar in the main temple. And they did it. All the women within 5 miles cut their hair off and made a rope to lift up the main pillar of the temple. It's kind of an interesting, it's very humbling offering.
Thank you. Thank you. We're about ready to, here they are.
The lights are fixed now? Or the lights are fixed?
No, kind of, yeah. Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Hari Purusham.
The lotus feet of our
Spiritual master, the way by which we can obtain pure devotional service. I now deserve thee great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering. In the mercy of Krishna, my only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. You, my Lord, after birth, I'm in ecstatic reverence. The scripture sings that our spiritual master, ocean mercy, friend of the poor, more than master. Oh, master, be merciful. It was a shade of the
Thank you, Giridhari Prabhu. Wonderful class. Bhima Prabhu is donating his beard to knit you a new scarf. Right. All right, Krishna. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Haribol.